All right, let's dive into something, well, it's pretty unique and honestly, a little unsettling. We're talking about a short but incredibly dense parable that's going to challenge everything you think you know about strength, failure, and what it even means to win. It's called The Parable of the Beautiful Decay. So it all kicks off with this simple image, right? A forest. And you've got these two major players. First, the mighty oak tree, the classic symbol of endurance, fighting back against everything. And then you've got the humble moss. It's the total opposite, basically just surrendering. This single quote sets up the whole game we're about to unpack, the epic struggle between striving with all your might and just letting go. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we've got to break down our two main characters, the oak and the moss. Because, let's be real, they're not just plants in a story. They're basically two completely different blueprints for how to live your life. Now, this is where it gets super interesting. Just look at the words here. The oak is painted as everything we're taught to admire, right? The saint, standing tall, rigid, reaching for the sky. But the moss? It's the total opposite. It's the sinner, something that's porous, flat, just surrendering to its surroundings. You see? These aren't just descriptions, they're entire worldviews clashing right here on this slide. And this is where the whole thing just flips the script. It's what the text calls the great inversion of power. It basically suggests that everything we think of as strength, well, that's actually your biggest weakness. And what looks like weakness, that's where the real power is hiding. So let's talk about the oak. Its greatest strength, that it won't bend, that it's tough and rigid, that's the very thing that seals its doom. Think about it. By fighting every single gust of wind, every cold snap, it just becomes more and more fragile. It becomes brittle. All that constant striving, all that fighting for survival, it literally sets it up to shatter into a million pieces. And then you have the moss. I mean, it's a total contrast, right? Its power comes from what looks like absolute submission. It doesn't fight the dampness. It doesn't fight decay. It invites it in. It accepts what the philosophy calls the machinery of the universe. And by doing that, it doesn't just survive, no way. It thrives, it consumes, and in the end, it owns the whole damn forest. Okay, so if striving is such a huge mistake, then what in the world is the oak even striving for? What's the goal it's killing itself to reach? And why does this philosophy hate that goal so much? Let's take a look at what's at the top of that ladder. So the parable calls the oak's goal the gilded heaven. And trust me, this is no paradise. The source material paints it as this static, empty, almost lobotomized state of perfection, a place where nothing ever changes. So this quote is laying out a choice. You can chase after that shiny, empty heaven, or you can become something real. You can become the soil itself. And that's the absolute heart of it, right there. This entire theology is about rejecting some far-off, sterile, perfect afterlife. Instead, it says the only thing that matters is the messy, chaotic, vibrant reality of the world right here, right now. It's about choosing the living inferno of the earth over the cold, dead silence of the stars. This brings us to the second half of the text, which has this incredible name, the mockery. And this is where the philosophy stops being a story and starts being like an instruction manual. It's a guide on how you can actually use this totally radical idea of surrender and decay in your own life. And listen, this isn't just about giving up or being lazy, not at all. It's a very deliberate step-by-step process for a total transformation. Step 1, you reject that fake goal, that gilded heaven. Step 2, you stop fighting. You literally lay down. Step 3, you let your failures, your mistakes, all that stuff you call your wasted life, you let it all decompose. And finally, through that whole process, you become the soil. You become the fertile ground for whatever comes next. And this right here, there is a power in the rot. This is the core mantra. It's brilliant. All that stuff you thought was waste, all your failures and screw-ups, it's not waste, it's fuel. It's the raw material, the rich compost that something new and amazing can grow out of. Okay, so this leads us to the final and honestly the most important question of all. What's the point? What's the ultimate goal of embracing what looks like sloth, rot, and failure? If we're not trying to get to heaven, what on earth are we trying to build? Right. So what is the purpose of all this decay? If heavenly perfection is off the table, what's supposed to grow out of all this decomposition? And boom, here's the answer. And it is stunning. This philosophy doesn't care about perfection. It values complexity.
It actually argues that a monster, something messy, complicated, flawed, but vibrantly alive, is so much better than a ghost. And that ghost? That's the sterile, empty perfection the oak was chasing all along. This table just lays it all out for us perfectly. It connects all the dots. So the rigid oak? That's the brittle saint, who's just destined to break. The spreading moss? That's the powerful sinner, who gets stronger by surrendering. The decomposed mulch? That's the fuel you get from a so-called wasted life. And the final goal, the masterpiece? To create these exquisite monsters. And this is it. This is the ultimate punchline of the whole thing. The goal was never just destruction. It's all about a really dark but really beautiful kind of creation. It's this incredible idea that from the compost of your biggest failures, from the mulch of a wasted life, you can grow the most exquisite, unique, and truly alive things imaginable. So as we wrap this up, the parable just leaves us with this really provocative thought, doesn't it? It completely flips our whole idea of strength and weakness upside down, and it forces you to ask, if being resilient can actually make you brittle, and if surrendering can be a source of immense power, what other virtues that we value so much might just be traps in disguise?